I've read it all.
And Calvin Goldschmidt.
I've read it all.
And the other thing is that to assume that it's merely a demographic problem is to assume that the only reason that we have obligations to some nationalism is because they may overpower us in numbers.
Correct.
There's an obligation to recognize Palestinian nationalism because it's in the interest of Israel.
Okay.
And that Israel itself became a state even though it was very small numbers. The argument against Israel was it didn't have the numbers to become a state. Why should we recognize Israel, this group of Jews who come here and all of a sudden claim that they have a right to a state? They don't number, what was the percentage of the total population when the Jews started to come at the beginning of the century? And even in 1948, what was the percentage?
48 were about
40%. So numbers are not the issue. It's national rights. National rights. And that's the only question.
Well, good, because that's
I think numbers aren't immoral.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you're saying that, because I've heard 1,000,000 times that the reason we need to have a partition is because we want to keep the Israel Jewish and democratic, otherwise it'll be suicide. Why will it be suicide? Because it'll be a majority of Arabs.
No, because
I have heard that 1,000,000 times. It's been said a million times.
I want to mediate between the two of you. Because I'm actually going to say exactly what you just said. You heard 1,000,000 times. I agree with that position.
Okay.
I actually, and you say that that's a Jew-centric position, and it is. My position is Jew-centric. I come to it from primarily a concern with Jewish self-determination, and I come to it as a Zionist.
Okay.
And yes, a component of that for me is that I think that Palestinian nationalism is a real thing. And you raise the issue of national identity and so forth, and by the way, many people have asked that question as well. There's a good body of literature on the creation of Palestinian identity. It's a complicated question for which we really don't have the time at the moment, but that's also true, by the way, of the creation of Jewish national identity, which is also a complicated question, and hence a dangerous road to go down to deny nationhood to the other side. And I don't think it holds water intellectually in the end either.
Well,
but let me make one other point. So yes, I come to this question as one who recognizes its legitimacy and the reality to Palestinian nationalism, notwithstanding the fact that I think the history of Palestinian nationalism is not a pretty history. But that doesn't deny the reality of a Palestinian identity and a connection to the land. Okay? But fundamentally, my main concern is exactly that, maintaining Israel as a Jewish and democratic state.
and I want that as much as you do, but we have to ask ourselves the questions. Why do we still not have a Palestinian state? Why? I haven't heard that question all night. Why is it? Why is it that at Camp David, at Tava, why is it that Ehud Olmert made an offer that we all know about to give back 95 to 96% of the West Bank, which would mean evacuating 65,000 Jewish settlers back to Israel with a solution for Jerusalem, East Jerusalem as the capital? We haven't talked about that all night.
Let's be explicit about it, David. I assume the three of us actually agree on this. I certainly agree with what you're implying. That is, that the Palestinians, since 1988, when they ostensibly accepted a two-state solution, have been at best mealy-mouthed about it.
Right.
But more
I think that's fundamental.
There's no leadership. There's also an absence of leadership. Look, we don't deal with. We need to ask our scholars about how you bring about political change. In other words, does political change come from the people or from visionary leaders? Right?
I think we patronize the Palestinians. We treat them like babies. We're always finding excuses for them.
No,
We're always
on both sides.
patronizing.
There's no leadership on Israel's side either.
They need to teach peace. There's never been a movement to work for compromise on the right of return in the Palestinian society. And the right of return means 5 million Palestinians are going to come back to Haifa and Tel Aviv. It's never going to happen. Why can't they teach that? But we always let them off the hook.
The right of return is a ploy to essentially dismantle the state.
Of course, we know that.
In the same way that the one-state solution, by the way, whether it's a left-wing right-state solution or a right-wing right-state solution that Corey mentioned, ultimately undermines the existence of a Jewish state.
Exactly. My thesis tonight is that the Palestinians don't want it enough. Because if they wanted it enough, they would have had it by now. That's my thesis. And let's debate.
Sorry, thank you.